Now, Mike, I would say that's a good place to start, right? And obviously no player in this game can do it by himself, but Tom Brady has proven this year and over the years that he can do it with less than most quarterbacks would require. So right now, when you look at it from a Patriots perspective, they are in the buying time business. They have some key players down. They need to get by this week, maybe the next week, maybe even a couple weeks after that, until they get a Rob Gronkowski back, until they get a Julian Edelman back, until they get a Dante Hightower back on defense. And it's all sort of, hey, maybe they can get through these weeks, keep that number one seed and home field advantage at the playoffs, and then, you know, you see what it looks like in the playoffs when some of those guys start coming back.
So many times, Mike, you look at, you know, okay, the Eagles have given up 45 points in each of their last two games. You know, is this a week where I guess there's not a lot of offensive players to ask about, specifically wide receivers, but is there a little glisten in their eyes knowing that, man, this Eagles team defensively, well, offensively is another story, but defensively seems down and out?
Well, you'd think that would be the case, but I would say that from a Patriots perspective, they on situations like that, they'll turn it inward and say, look, it's not about them, it's about us, and we're not doing things well enough. And you mentioned it in the Denver game. You know, they had opportunity to win the game, fourth quarter, double-digit lead. That never usually slips away from a Patriots team. The week before that against Buffalo, Tom Brady was pressured and hit more than we've seen all season. So I think they feel like here, well, they have high hopes and they feel like they have good depth and they can still win games and be competitive, that they have enough issues to sort out on their own side, you know, instead of looking over on the other side and say, we should be all set.
This is interesting because a lot of times when you talk about the Eagles in the past, and Belichick did it this week on his conference call, you know, they're too deep at every position, and I think the people here would almost roll over and wonder if he had watched them play at all. We know that it's just coach speak, but they are certainly not too deep, if one deep at any position. Is there a lot of surprise at how much that this Eagles offense has struggled this year?
Well, you know, so the first thing I say on stuff like that is, you know, I'm not around them, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So I'm always hesitant to too much conviction about. If you're asking my own opinion, I think if you're asking the Patriots' opinion, I know Bill Belichick has great respect for Chip Kelly and what he does as an offensive coach. Obviously, things haven't worked out. But I can't, from this perspective, you know, where I'm sort of in here every day with the Patriots, I don't feel close enough to that to speak with it on a level of authority.
Well, let's talk then about this team moving forward, the New England Patriots, because obviously they're having another great year, and a lot of people think, well, you know, what happened with the Deflategate, that they were really dead set on, you know, sticking it to the league. Do you get a sense that the Patriots did play or are playing this season with some extra purpose?
Well, I thought early in the season, I wouldn't say maybe the Patriots were, but maybe Tom Brady was. Mm-hmm. You know, it was more of a Brady thing than a Patriots thing. And I go back to the Week 2 game against Buffalo when they were really, you know, throwing the ball in the fourth quarter when they were up big, and you sort of saw that and you said, wow, you know, that seemed to have a little bit of a 2007 type feeling to it in that specific game. But what's happened here, Mike, over this season is it's been a battle of attrition, and I know every team goes through it, but I think the stats for the Patriots is, you know, they might have, as of early this week, I think they had as many players going on injured reserve as almost any team in the league. It's sort of become more survival for them than being able to say, look, we got everyone, and let's go dominate and crush everyone. They've sort of had to I don't want to say make it up as they go, but there were weeks where they were coming to games with just 6 offensive linemen and having to play guys out of position. So it's been more about that, at least recently, than any type of revenge or motivation from what happened in the offseason.
And Mike Reiss is with us, ESPN, and of course looking at the Patriots here. That's what's fascinating. You just mentioned about the fact that they played with about a bunch of offensive linemen. In the one game, I'm watching them play with a tight end at right tackle, And it's not like, hey, we got a tight end at right tackle. They're running the ball behind the guy. I mean, hey, get to right tackle, and we're going to run the ball behind you. It's almost like, like he says, do your job. I don't care where I put you. If you don't do it, it's almost like he's going to look right through you, and if you don't do what you're supposed to, the death stare will get you cut.
Yeah, well, they're very resourceful in terms of just finding different ways to win when they don't have everything they want in their arsenal. That's one thing, and that's probably one area that you just mentioned, Mike, that ties into what Chip Kelly said when he said, look, they still have Brady, because they were mixing and matching along the offensive line, and Brady really helped mask some of the issues that were up there, by getting the ball out of his hands so quickly. There was a point in this year, probably about 2-3 weeks ago, where if you looked at the numbers of how quickly he was getting the ball out of his hands, it was about 2.18 seconds, and it was the quickest in the league at that point. So that's a good example of how Brady helps you overcome some of the other issues you're having. I'd compare it to sort of like a great center in basketball. Your defense breaks down, the guy's driving to the basket, and doesn't look good, and all of a sudden the big center comes out of nowhere, blocks the shot, and sort of saves you from all your breakdowns everywhere else. That's Tom Brady from the football perspective.
Good point there, Mike. As you chronicled over at ESPN.com, you gave 10 things to know about this Patriots-Eagles game, one of which is that the Eagles have faced the lowest blitz rate in the NFL. Is that a good sign for this defense, which, as you mentioned, has lost some players? So does that kind of say, look, we don't need to put a lot of pressure on these two guys, and they're still going to make mistakes?
Well, first of all, Mike, did you like the piece of the 10 things? That's a new thing I've been doing. I'm curious if you like the format there of the 10 things.
I do. I do like these 10 things. Right. Except they're against, if you're an Eagles fan, it doesn't sound very good considering the Patriots haven't lost in consecutive weeks since the 2012 season chronicled here in the piece.
There you go. No, I appreciate that. On the blitzing, it's Patriots, I think, are second in the league in sacks, even though sacks don't always give us a true measure of pressure. I don't think the blitz numbers are really a huge factor in this game because really I boil it down to simple sort of terms. I mean, Sanchez and Bradford, and it looks like it's going to be Bradford. Really, to me, that's probably more what it is. And is this a guy that you can win with and win with consistently? And it seems to me, from afar, again, not being there every day, that's very much still in question. And that the trade for him, which raised the expectations because of what you gave up to get him, would lead you to think they think they can win with him and win consistently and win what they want to, win big. But it hasn't really turned out that way. At least that's the way it looks from this perspective, Mike.
One other thing in the 10 things, the Patriots are 45-10 against NFC teams. It's the best record interconference, and that's what you're up against this week. A couple last quick injury things. Danny Amendola, limited in practice all week long. Is the anticipation that he will play? Are they going to try to get him out there, or are they going to hold him back, knowing that, look, as you mentioned too, they don't need a lot of work here to win this division. They can clinch with a win or a jet loss.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me. I think there's been optimism, that he's got a chance to play in the game. And the first tip-off was, he held pretty extended time with reporters early this week. Usually when the guys aren't going to play, they sort of stay away from that here in New England. And I watched him out at practice earlier in the week, and I thought he was moving very well, Mike. So I think he's more likely to play. They've already ruled Gronkowski out. They've already ruled Edelman out today. So I think they get a shot to get Amendola back.
We shall see. And last one, former Eagle Demaryius Johnson. Are we going to see him on the field? I mean, you pull this guy off the street and get him right out there. I could see him having 7 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown right off the bat.
It's so negative, Mike. It's so negative.
That's the way it's been here, Mike. It's been bad. It's been bad.
I hear you. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays. They actually cut their number 3 guy at receiver from last game, Chris Harper, the rookie who muffed that punt against the Broncos, and brought in Demaryius Johnson. So I think he's got a shot to play. Probably will be on the edge, and it will depend maybe on some of the other injury situation. But they need some depth, at the receiver spot, and also just from a general perspective, even running back that's sort of connected there. They're missing some dynamic threats, guys that can make tacklers miss, and they hope maybe he can add something there.
Well, it's all going to be going down right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can listen to the pregame coverage at 3:30. Maryland Mike at 4:25. Mike Reiss over at ESPN has 10 things you should know about this game, and we'll let you guys go read the rest of them. We pointed out a few. Good stuff, Mike. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.